Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. All right, so in this video, I am going to be talking about something that I've mentioned and I've been asked about by numerous people in the past, and especially recently. And that is, we were Army, we moved a lot. This house right here is my 22nd home as an adult. And I pray it's the last. But after I became a believer, I would move into a new home and I'd pray over it. And I didn't do it right away as a baby believer, but later on, over time, I began this practice of when I would move into my home, I would pray over it and bless it. And I've had people ask me how I go about doing that. Now, let me just say, there's no formula in scripture about this. I just read, as I read through the Bible, you see things where there's things that are said in the scriptures, like where you see about the land being defiled because of wickedness and because of sin and innocent bloodshed and things like that. You see the passage where it talks about how, and I know this is allegorical, but it talks about cleaning out the house. And if it isn't filled with something, how what you cleaned it out of will come back sevenfold. And so just, it was something that I started doing. Just because it felt like the right thing to do. Because you don't know who's lived in your house in the past. You don't know what things took place here. And so I began praying over my home. And what I have done every time is I take some oil and I pray. And I just ask God to cast out anything that is here that is not of him, to make this a sanctuary for his spirit to move, for the enemy to be cast away. I pray that this is a place where his presence is felt, where his will is done. I pray for everyone in this home. I pray. And I would take oil and I would just take a little bit and I would mark the doorposts. Kind of like where, the Passover lamb, they marked the doorposts with the blood of the lamb. And then you see in Deuteronomy where he gives the law, where he gives his Torah, his instructions to his people. And he says, write these on the doorposts of your house and upon your gate. Let them be frontlets between your eyes. Write them on your hands. And while that may not be literal, and although it is taken literally by Orthodox Jews and stuff like that, to me, this is like a principle. And so I take the oil, I mark over my doors. Sometimes I'll do it over the windows. And I just anoint it and I just pray over it. I'm praying for this to be a place where God's Spirit is free to move, that the enemy is not, and for protection of everyone who lives here, everyone who comes here. I can say that there was a time a few years ago where there was a season that I was going through of severe spiritual warfare. It was just relentless. And I got up it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was just praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. And I grabbed a jug of olive oil and I anointed my home again and I prayed over it. And I just asked, God to come in and intervene. And I was praying against the attacks of the enemy. And I will tell you, I had a whole quart of olive oil. And it was all over my house. My hands were just dripping with oil. And there were spots where you could actually see handprints on the doors where I was just praying over the house and praying over what was taking place inside. And the next day, the difference was palpable. And it wasn't just me that noticed it. It was other people in the home who noticed it. And they didn't know what it was, but they knew something was different. And so that's basically what I've done. Now, I did go through this home as soon as we got it, and I did that. I took some oils. As a matter of fact, that's what I bought this bottle for, to go around the home and pray over it and ask God to make this a sanctuary for His Spirit to work and move and lead and protect the people who live here and anyone who comes here. I pray that when people enter this house, that they feel His presence here and that His Spirit can move and can reach and just that we are that vessel for Him, and that this is not a place where the enemy is ever entertained. But all that to say, there's actually something else that I'm going to do. I've never done this on any of my properties, but I heard about it recently, and I've heard it actually came up multiple times in different avenues, and that is staking your property or vaving it, taking a stake with the scriptures and putting it like on the corners of your property and doing the same thing, not just for your home, but your land. And so I went to the store and I bought some 2 foot sections of pipe. And I'm actually about to go out there and place them right now. And what I did is I printed out scriptures. I'm kind of patterning this after the mezuzahs, which are the little decorations or little containers, boxes that you'll see on the doorposts. Again, pointing back to Deuteronomy, write these on the doorposts of your houses and upon your gates. And you know, these little things that you have on the door frames contain scrolls of scriptures. And so I decided to do something just like that for the land itself. I don't have a gate at this house, but I've got property lines. And so I printed out scriptures. And Deuteronomy 6:4-9, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you are to love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your resources. These words which I am ordering you today are to be upon your heart. You are to teach them carefully to your children. You are to talk about them when you sit at home, when you are traveling on the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as a sign upon your hand. Let them control all of your actions. Put them at the front of a headband around your forehead. Let them guide your thoughts, your tongue, who you are on the inside, so your actions and your being. And write them on the door frames of your houses and upon your gates. And then I have Deuteronomy 6:11-21, where it continues on, talking about the blessings and the curses, about serving the Father and being faithful. And then I threw in some other scriptures, like 2 Samuel 22, where it says, the God who is my rock in whom I find shelter, my shield, the power that saves me, my stronghold and my refuge, my Savior, you have saved me from violence. And I put a few other scriptures like that on there, just ones that I chose. Again, there's no rule about this. There's no pattern about this. This is just something that I am doing. And people have asked me about it, so I'm sharing that with y'all. But I made 4 copies of this. And so in the pipe, the pipe section, I'm going to roll these up and I'm going to put them inside it. And then I'm going to pound them down into the ground at the corners of my property, and I'm going to pray over it. And I'm going to take some oil and I'm going to pour some oil there and just pray over the land. And again, ask the Father that if there has ever been innocent blood shed here on this land, if there's ever been wickedness, if this land has ever been defiled in any way, to forgive it, to wash it clean, and make this a sanctuary for his Spirit to dwell. That every soul that steps foot here is, that every soul that steps here feels his presence, is moved by him, and that the Father protect us from the evil one, protect us from the attacks of the enemy. Let no evil thing be allowed here. Cast it far away. Do not allow it here. And these are just things that I pray. And, you know, frankly, I don't pray them just once. I do this when I move in, when we get a place, rent a place, buy a place. But this is something that I do periodically, because the attacks come. And sometimes we've got to do some battles, because we're still in this war. This war continues and will continue until the Lord comes back. But I am establishing that this is a place dedicated to the Father. This is a place that I want his Spirit to dwell. This is our camp. And I want it to be holy. So, anyways, that's what I'm fixing to do. I'm not going to take you all out there with the prayers and all of that, but I'll show you them when they're done. Look what I just found as I'm out here staking the land. Passion flowers. And passion fruit. Oh my goodness, I've never actually laid eyes on this. What does this look like when it's ripe? Check that out. Isn't that something? All right, y'all. My land has been staked and prayed over and anointed. And then I painted the pipes blue just because. You know, this isn't some magic talisman. This isn't, there's no power in these items that I'm putting out there. It is simply an act of faith, of declaring this land to be of service to the Father. It's the power of the prayer. It's not these things. But you can kind of think of those as mezuzahs for the land, just like here on my door. Or this one over here on this door. I've got one over here on my office door. Of course, I couldn't hang it quite the same way. Different kind of door. But I have one here. I have some in the house. I've got one on the front door. It's just an act of declaration. Just like Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So, like I said at the beginning, I've had people asking me about this, asking me how I do this. But there's no rules about it. This is just a declaration, and you can do it any way that you want to. You know, the mezuzah is a reminder. It's a reminder that every time you leave your house, you should be serving him. You see it when you go through the door. While I'm out there, as I pass through that doorway, and I see that mezuzah, it's a reminder that as I'm going about my day, as I'm going about out there, that I should be shining the light of Yeshua, that I should be the salt and light that we're called to be, and pray for opportunities every time the Father sees fit. And that when I come home, I see that on the door. Again, a reminder that in this house we serve the Father. In this house, it is set apart for him. Whether there's an audience or not, we belong to him and we will serve him with everything in us. Writing his word on our mind, on our forehead, and on our hands. Living it, being it. That's what it's about. So, anyways, I hope that is blessing. Hope that is an encouragement. I had someone say, I don't want to do it wrong. There is no wrong. It's a matter of the heart. It's a declaration of the heart to serve him. That your land is set apart as a sanctuary, a place where those who do not know the Father could come into his presence. And that those who live here are going to be his hands and feet. Let this home, Father, be a place of sanctuary, a place of rest for the weary soul. And help us serve you well here. So, that is it for today, friends. I hope this is a blessing to y'all. And that's it. God bless. And I'll talk to y'all next time.